Hey, welcome back to the pod. We got Shelby and myself here today, Bryce Coons, and we're going to be talking all about AI and cybersecurity news that's going to blow your mind. Shelby, what story you got for us today?
I'm excited. Okay, I know it's going to be fun when, the vulnerability gets a name, when it gets like a cute name instead of just a CVE or something. That's how you know it's fun, right? So this one is called Comet Jacking. So Perplexity has their AI-powered browser called Comet, and a few weeks ago they announced that it would become free for all their users, whereas before it was a paid model. And what is interesting about this new browser is that they've integrated an AI chatbot, and you can have it do autonomous tasks for you. So you want it to write an email or make some purchases for you. You can give it some instructions and have it kind of take away some of the busy work that you can explain to it, right? So that's nice. You can even have it surf the web on your behalf. The issue was discovered by a research firm called Layer X, and they found that the internal AI of Comet can be hijacked by malicious links. And so basically what you do as the attacker, you craft a link that embeds prompt. I mean, it's basically just prompt injection with a new flavor, right? So you put it into the URL, and then the browser doesn't know how to distinguish that from user submitted link. So when when the victim goes to click on that link, the browser interprets the link and then interprets the command that's coming along with it, and it thinks that it's coming from the victim, but it's not. So what can you do with this attack? So basically, I think the proof of concept so far is kind of just shown data exfiltration, siphoning your info out from connected services. So anything you are kind of logged into, like Google services and things like that. To Perplexity's credit, they do have some detection for data siphoning like this. But it's with this particular attack, they found that all they had to do with that stolen data was use base64 encoding, and then it just goes right through, and it gets past that detection. So this was reported by the researchers. So Layer X sent this information over to Perplexity, and I feel like this is going to look really bad for Perplexity because their response was, we don't see a security impact identified here. But having been on the receiving end of vulnerability reports, some days you get a dozen, some days you get two, and some days you get thousands. And if the reporter can't demonstrate what the security impact is, it's hard to prioritize that over other engineering work that needs to be done, right? So I feel like I have a slightly different perspective looking at Perplexity's response. They did end up fixing it in the end. So, but their initial response didn't look so great for them because they're like, yeah, we don't see a security impact here. You didn't really identify one. And then they blamed the report later on. So I don't know what kind of heat they might have gotten or back and forth. But basically, they said the report wasn't clear that was submitted. So I guess it started being about AI, and now I'm kind of just talking about the challenges of receiving public reports, and they'd kind of requested for more details. Eventually, they got it sorted out. They did better understand the impact and how this was working, and then they were able to fix it. But yeah, that's the Comet Jacking for you. People are saying it makes browsing the internet more dangerous, right? Because it'll be interesting to see. I'm sure Comet is not going to be the only browser who starts adding AI into their services, because if it's helpful, people are going to be interested, right? And in the battle of the browsers, people are going to want to get in on that action. So I've also heard rumors that OpenAI might be working on an AI-powered browser as well. So it'll be interesting to see what develops in this space. But yeah, what are your thoughts, Bryce?
Yeah, well, first off, I just have to say, not surprised at all, right? Second, I think we should talk at some point about what can researchers do to better convey the impact when they're reporting stuff to a third party, because I feel like that's like a systemic issue in our industry, which really just comes down to, in my opinion, people just doing the bare minimum, right? To like say to whoever, hey, I've reported this to the third party. But like I've been on both ends of that. The reporting end, where I've been giving it to a third party, and the third party just like doesn't want to know, right, at all. And then also on the other side, where like I'm on the receiving end, and I'm like I feel like I'm literally like reading ancient Egyptian text where there's like no key, right? I'm like, I know how to exploit systems, and I cannot track what this dude's saying at all. And so like I feel like there's like always not always, but I feel like a lot of times there's fault on both sides in these like discussions, and I feel like a lot of times the companies end up with the black eyes because researchers get really ranty on social media and stuff like that. But like shifting back to the Perplexity thing, I use Comet browser every single day, right? And I am 0% surprised that unsanitized, untrusted inputs coming in from websites are causing it to take effects that are unintentional. Like, that just seems like, in my opinion, like, Perplexity is going to do the best to put guardrails in, but that's just going to be a constant cat and mouse game, in the same sense that there is no perfect browser out there from a security standpoint, right? Like, you have a browser, it has a sandbox because it's taking what is a web? What is the web? You're taking somebody else's code and you're executing it inside of your application. You're taking their HTML, you're taking their CSS, you're taking their JavaScript, you're running it inside your browser. And the only reason that we've gotten so comfortable to doing that is because, like, one, we've been doing that since basically the beginning of JavaScript and the internet, and two, the browsers have implemented multiple layers, right? So if you want to exploit the Chrome browser, it's like you need a series of exploits to get the full exploit working, right? You got to get outside the sandbox, you got to evade some of the other preventions, and you got to kind of chain those bugs together to get it working well. And unlike a modern Windows or Mac system. So, yeah, creating something that's going to trick the LLM, that's way easier than chaining together a bunch of 0 days to get code execution in the browser. But on the same at the same core, you have the same problem, which is like you're taking untrusted inputs and you're processing them, right? And being able to say like, hey, we can fully sanitize those at this point in the technology stack, not surprising that we can't do that personally. And I think that this is like just the tip of the iceberg. I'm sure there's a million other ways to get the effect that they just got. So like, what as a user, like I use Comet every day. Like I'm like, once I realized that I could open multiple tabs and then have the LLM correlate the data automatically for me and take actions on my behalf in the browser, like, heck yeah, man, that's way more productive, right? So I just fall back to like, what's the blast radius? Like, don't log into anything that you don't want it to be able to take automated actions with. So if you don't want it to arbitrarily buy something on Amazon, don't log into Amazon with a Comet browser, right? If you don't want it to send emails to your boss, don't log into your emails on it, right? Like, I mean, at this point, no matter what Perplexity or any of these companies say, to be honest, because they all are going down the same path, and they're all releasing, like, differences in the technology and how they're implementing it, but the same effect, which is the LLM is going to drive the actions. I mean, don't interconnect these things until you're, like, very certain that these edge cases have been routed out. And I don't foresee that happening over the next 24 months, right? They'll get better, but I mean, you're going to have to assume some level of risk if you want that level of automation. At least today, you will. Now, we've seen Anthropic. They've dropped like a Chrome extension that does pretty much the same thing. I'm going to talk about the Gemini computer use type operations, but there's also Mariner, I think is what it's called, which is an integration directly into Chrome from Google that does pretty similar things. And, ChatGPT's rumored to be cooking something up too, like you alluded to. So, no matter you, this is not just like a Comet Perplexity problem. It's just they're the first ones to the market, and I think we're going to see a lot more of this coming down the pipe, right? So, I mean, imagine like in the past, if you're on Amazon, Amazon would have filters to prevent users when they're leaving comments from like injecting a cross-site scripting type attack, right? Like inserting malicious scripts, right? Mm-hmm. But now the paradigm's shifted because it's like the language models process raw text. What are comments? Raw text. So I mean, like very easily you could see like what happens if I just go into Amazon and I start inserting comments that tell other people's browsers to do things which are automatically going. And in fact, I noticed the other day when, like, I'll have Comet go and research products on Amazon. It's not logged into my account, but, you know, but I just like, hey, is this actually the best thing I should buy, right? And it will go and browse Amazon. But I noticed last week, Amazon popped a warning up and made me click accept before it would continue. And it was a warning page explicitly saying, I accept the risk of using a agent to browse Amazon. And so I had to like scroll to the bottom and be like, I accept. And then Comet took over and kept browsing Amazon. Right? And so I think Amazon's like, from a legal standpoint, it's like, well, this is going to get bad at some point. So let's just, legal team was like, make them click I accept before they let them do. Even though like, there really wasn't anything this could do because I wasn't logged in. But I think legal just said, hey, if you detect they're using Comet or some type of other AI automation, make them click the I accept before it like proceeds. And so they've implemented that now.
That makes sense. Because like, even just like, if it accidentally bought something, you're like, oh, never mind, I don't want that because the agent bought it for me, but I wasn't ready for it to buy it or whatever. Like, I bet they get a lot of returns or things.
Yeah, that's on you, man. That's not Amazon's problem, right? Like, you told an AI to go buy stuff and it bought stuff. Right. I mean, I don't think Amazon should have to eat the cost of that. And I want to go
back to your earlier comment, too, of what you were saying of like, it's, because it kind of echoed what the CEO of Layer X was saying. He was saying like that with this attack, because you're kind of just coupling, you know, malicious links, which have always been a problem, and prompt injection, which is an AI problem. And you put those two together, and what you get is that we're seeing that it's bringing back old attacks that were almost extinct. That could be because we found ways to like filter for them and protect against them, but now with AI, it's changed those rules, right? Because we're processing all that raw data or like all that raw text. So it's interesting to see. Hopefully they can find a way to keep building off of what we've learned instead of starting back from square one. But I thought that was interesting because I didn't realize it could also kind of dig back in the archives of dangerous attacks that are happening or have happened, right?
Yeah, super interesting. Well, one question for you, Shelby, is, I mean, you've seen a lot of reports come in through the years. So what do you think researchers could do a better job of when they're doing the reporting to organizations?
Oh, that's great. Let's see. I would say, like, the format doesn't matter. I don't mind if it's like, if you send me an HTML page, an Excel spreadsheet, a Word doc, a PDF. It's fine. It's really more about the content. I think if you're in a, basically you have to show not just that an attack happened, but you don't know when you submit a report who your audience is going to be, right? Because it could be anyone with a number of titles or backgrounds. And so you have to explain not only were you able to do this, your proof of concept, but explain a malicious person with that proof of concept could do this instead, right? To help someone who doesn't know how to connect those dots of the security impact. Also, if you're submitting it to a company that has either a complex product or a suite of large products, screenshots will really help because they might not, when you've got a complex situation, it's just helpful to understand, like, this is the exact part of the app I'm talking about, instead of just a network capture, right? Or like showing which packet you sent, showing like what action in the GUI or in the other parts of the workflow triggered that action can be really helpful in helping us be able to reproduce the attack successfully. Those are my ideas. What do you think?
No, I think that's great. I think that's spot on. The one thing that I found super effective, and I mean, I feel like I just kind of discovered this happenstancy, is like, there's always like this back and forth across text messages or email or whatever the form is. But when I jump on a video call and I just like share my screen and I show the other person, like, hey, this is what I'm talking about. Let me walk you through it, right? And I walk them through the attack. Like, I feel like that's the point where like it starts to click in everybody's mind and everyone can understand what you're saying better. And so my recommendation to people would be like, if you're reporting something to a company and they're not taking it seriously, recording a video or something like that and sending them over the video, which shows the impact, like the end to end, like, here's what the attacker would do, here's what the user would do, here's the impact, right? Like, I know that takes more effort, but I found that to be extremely effective in communicating to, third parties and actually getting them to fix it, right? So
Yeah, that's super helpful because then they can see it, right? And
now, whether the fix is sufficient or not, that's another story, Shelby. But
I was gonna say maybe this is obvious, and I did it, but like maybe some people don't know. Like, have reproduction steps. Step one: am I logging into this application, or am I coming as an unauthenticated user? Like just start from step one. Step one, do this. Step two, do this. Step three, you can observe that this happens, right? But even just that puts you above like half the people submitting findings, and that makes it really helpful for the triagers.
I just had an Inception idea, Shelby.
Oh.
So, like how at most big companies, they're just like inundated with security reports from third-party researchers. Like, they get thousands of reports, right?
Yeah.
So, what's the logical solution to that? Well, you should use an LLM to triage the reports. But what if somebody in the steps to reproduce section of the report injects an instruction for the company's LLM to go do something malicious? So then it's like reporting causes the exploit to occur, which causes more reporting to occur. It's like a snake that eats its own tail. I'm pretty sure, I'm calling it now. That's going to happen. Not 2025, but probably 2027. We're going to see snake eating its own tail on vulnerability reporting.
Oh my goodness. We just need to figure out a really good way to solve like prompt injection once and for all, because it just opens too many doors. Too many holes in things.
It's gonna be fun. So kind of piggyback on your story, I just wanted to briefly talk about Gemini released a new model for computer use. And so essentially you can open like a terminal on your browser and you can give it a task, right? And you can say like, hey, go research our competitors and fill out this Excel doc on like where their core strengths and weaknesses are. And it will actually fully take over and drive your mouse and keyboard and interact. And based on the stats that they released, it's the fastest and the highest accuracy of any computer use model to date, which I've played around with a few of the computer use models, and they're fun, but they're not like super effective, right? They usually end up being too error prone to be usable. So I'm looking forward to playing around with this and seeing if they've really cracked it. One thing that I have seen in the past, which the Gemini models are particularly good at, is I've seen a lot of researchers, and now that I say this, I'm sure some criminals are probably going to do it too, is they'll actually use the Gemini models to like bypass the Cloudflare CAPTCHA problems. And the reason that they use the Gemini models for that is because the Gemini models have the best, at least today, they have the best multimodal capabilities. So like they're able to read screenshots really well and like convert those into text or convert those into actions that the computer should be used. So,
Wow.
So and now that this is kind of like baked into a product and released as a model and specifically designed to do this, I mean, I gotta imagine that Gemini's got something in there that says like, hey, don't let the user bypass CAPTCHAs, but I doubt it's gonna like hold, right? So, because what's the difference between like me saying like go to this website and then there's a captcha and the AI's like, oh, we just got to get through the captcha first, right? And an attacker being like, go through the captcha, like not much. It's kind of like splitting hairs at that point. So, but anyways, I'm going to play around with it more this weekend, see what this particular individual is good at, yeah, I'm excited. I like where the industry's going. So so if you're interested in computer use stuff, yeah, definitely check out that new Gemini release. So we'll put a link in the show notes or whatever that is called. So it'll be below.
The footnotes.
In the footnotes, yeah. What's your thoughts? Can you foresee a future where you just like walk up to the computer and be like, hey computer, go do work, and then you just watch it start moving the mouse and keyboard and do everything? Do you think that's a future we're going to get to, or do you think that's just like nerds being nerds?
It would basically like add a layer of abstraction, right, between the user and interacting with a computer.
Yeah. The previous ones I've used would give you the option to basically like Control C, like stop what it's doing, and then like you take over manually, and then like resume. So, we've seen this in like the Manus got really popular after, DeepSeek model dropped, and some things like that. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. It's an interesting future. So,
yeah, it sounds like a sci-fi movie. I feel like I saw this episode once.
Yeah,
Like-
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
The thought of the models being able to move through the captchas, though, that's interesting because, captchas get harder every year. Just yesterday, I failed a captcha like 2 or 3 times. I was like, come on. And as a human, I was failing. It's like, can I get a hint or an easier captcha?
yeah, sometimes I fail those captchas pretty regularly, and sometimes I'll click like like sometimes there'll be like an audio option versus the text option, right? And I'll be like,
okay.
oh, do that. And those are sometimes easier for me to answer. But dude, the captchas are getting crazy hard, right? Like,
Yeah. And speaking of the audio as a captcha, I'd like to go into my next story because it reminds me of it. I just learned about a filter called, well, I don't really love its name, but it's called the Wiener filter, I guess. Can I call it the Wiener filter?
you call it whatever you want, Shelby. You call it whatever you want.
The filter? Just kidding.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I guess,
hot dog? No hot dog, right?
Yeah.
Have you seen Silicon Valley, the TV show?
Yeah, so we've got the Wiener filter, and basically what it
Yeah.
can do is it can take raw like signal processing, and I didn't understand the math behind it. Involved taking the mean and like probably some fancy math, but basically it can take this raw data and kind of process it to better understand like the sounds that are happening and clean up the sound data. So where this comes in, we've got some fresh new horrors for you. If you value privacy, they're finding, let's see, this is a group of researchers from the University of California, Irvine. And what they found was that you can use the motion sensors in optical mice as a microphone.
Oh,
Which is crazy because it doesn't have a mic on it,
cool.
right?
Well, let's think about it though, because like the mouses have, like those gaming mouses have crazy DPI, and you know what you got to do now? I bet is just like take a tornado fan and just constantly point it at your mouse, so there's just a ton of white noise. Shelby, can they handle that?
I'll send that suggestion to them.
maybe make a video first of it so they understand the concept. It's kind of a hard attack. No, just joking. Go ahead. What were you saying?
So funny. Yeah, they're like, why do you always have a fan on in your room? For privacy.
It's a privacy fan.
I love the name of this attack. It's spelled MICE and then mouse. So it's like either Mickey Mouse or Mike E Mouse because it turns into a mic. But Mickey Mouse sounds cute too. So if someone knows, drop it in the comments or something. Let us know. But yeah, the Mickey Mouse or Mike E Mouse attack. So basically, it was exactly what you're saying. It's those like, it's high performance mice. And when I first read the headline, I thought we were talking about the fuzzy little creatures. And I was like, what's the difference between a high-performing and a low-performing mouse? Like,
Go, my pets, go! Get the intel! Get the intel!
training for this, I guess. But yeah, we're talking about using your computer mouse, and if it has a high polling rate and sensitivity, then you can use it as a mic. And basically, the requirement is if it's 20,000 DPI or higher, then you're vulnerable. And as high-quality mice get cheaper, it means more people are probably going to be at risk. But basically, one important part I should mention of this that will probably bring a little peace of mind. Your computer basically has to be compromised already for this attack to work, because you need to be able to capture the mouse packet data. So there is an assumption going on here. It's not just if you own a mouse, you're going to get hacked. But, things happen. So...
Well, I do want to highlight one thing, which is... And this may not, really affect most of the audience or whatnot, but... A lot of times in classified spaces, you'll have two computers right next to each other. And one will be on one network and the other one will be on another network. And while they're physically not interconnected, if you could infect both with malware and then use the mouses to comms both ways, I think that would be a huge concern. Anyways, I'm just throwing out a worst case scenario. You could potentially use that to jump an air gap, which historically we've seen malware do, but they've had to do it via piggyback on user OPSEC problems. The conficker worm would infect USB drives, so when a dude would take a USB drive out one computer and put it in the other one, they'd be able to hop from unclassified to classified or the reverse. But if you're able to do that via speakers and mouses that are sitting in the same room, and then let's say you combine that with and I don't know if this is possible because I have not looked at the research at all, but there are audio tones that some speakers can produce that are not you can't hear in human ears. So it'd be interesting if you could combine that with the mouse movements, so that way they have this whole channel going that we can't even hear. So anyways, if you're a nation state out there right now, and you're looking for a baller way to jump an air gap, there you go, my friend.
Ideas. Well,
yeah, and you want to give me roughly $100 million, I will develop that software for you.
I don't know this guy. I have nothing to do with Bryce.
Whatever, Shelby, you're telling me someone walks up with a briefcase of $100 million. You're like, I don't want to know anymore. Here's the software. I was like, don't talk to me. I was like, I don't want to know which nation state you're associated with. I assume the U.S.
Oh my gosh. Just hold an auction right there. Anyone else interested in the bidding?
Yeah, you have to get a cat with a full Dr. Evil thing going on. All right, sorry. I've hijacked your whole article.
So far from this report, it sounds like they haven't found a way to, for that initial infection point. So what you're describing would be definitely very scary, but that proof of concept was not included in this one. This one is just taking the mouse motions or the motion sensors and converting that to sound. So the way that this works is they take that raw digital signal and they the packets from the mouse, and they use machine learning and signal processing through the Wiener filter. And then to clean that up further, they send it through a neural model, and then the output is this clear audio where you can hear what someone is saying. Basically, here, I'm going to use my air quotes. You can hear it. But yeah, now that we've got computer mice that can hear you, and Wi-Fi access points that can see you through walls and in the dark, I'm like, man, privacy is a long lost hope. I'm just gonna go live under a rock somewhere. But yeah, it's kind of crazy. So
you could go live in Alaska, off the grid, back to ice fishing.
That is an option. I would freeze to death and give up all that. I would be like, okay, take my privacy. I'm coming back. Too cold.
Yeah, I do worry about privacy not because like I'm a privacy nut, but because I personally think like the current state of affairs has a negative mental effect on people in society, and I feel like that mental effect would be greatly reduced if people were, given more privacy in their lives and things like that, right? So,
Yeah.
like I, you know, it seems like every stereotypical crazy person is also like, has all those like the government spying on my house or whatever type things going on, right? But it just seems like when you get like, I don't know, maybe the lack of privacy drives certain people to like be more paranoid than they might normally be, right? But yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I know everyone's like super worried about like the government spying on them and knowing everything about them, but like, which is a valid concern. Like, I'm not trying to say that's not, but like, I'm almost like way more concerned about like essentially companies having every data point about you and just constantly selling you things that you don't need, right? Because there's just like so many people in society right now are hooked into this like bad dopamine cycle where they feel bad because they like went to work all day and did something they didn't want to work on. Then they come home and they spend money so they get a dopamine hit on whatever marketing's pushing in front of them because they think that's going to make them happy. And then it doesn't make them happy. The dopamine goes away. And they just, they ended up in this cycle. And a lot of people just get in debt. And the further and further they get in debt, the worse it gets, right? So, I don't know. I just feel bad because like I feel like we're preying on the people that are like our weakest in our society to make some CEO, an extra couple $1 million a year or whatever, right? So, like I don't know. I know that's just the world and the way it is. So I don't know. I feel bad when these things like have actual negative consequences on like people inside our society. So.
I'm happy to join you on the soapbox because privacy is something that I feel passionately about. I read an interesting book. It's slightly tinfoil hatty, but I liked it because I guess I'm slightly tinfoil hatty. But basically, it's kind of like the idea that we, like generations before us, like the whole world, almost had privacy as just a human right up until the last 10 20 years, and now all of a sudden if you want privacy, it's like, what are you trying to hide? When I tell people, oh, did you know that companies like this app can see this information about you, or this can track you in this way, or this, and the response I get so often is like, I don't care, I don't have anything to hide. But the fact is, it's a weird thing where the fact that you exist means that companies and governments or whoever can observe things about you, quantify it, and put it into their data machine, right? That's to me that feels creepy. Other people, maybe they just don't mind, but the fact that you exist, they're like, so we will observe you and we will monetize off that. So the book was called Surveillance Capitalism, I think, if I remember rightly.
Okay.
Interesting read, but it does talk about these privacy topics for anyone that's interested. It's a bit dry, but it was fascinating and eye-opening, and it's probably even outdated now because things are moving so fast. But yeah.
Well, I'll have to give it a read. That's a good recommendation. So once I get done reading about my hero, Machiavelli, then I'll get on that, Just joking.
Excellent.
Let's see.
Do you have another story for me?
Probably. But let's just be honest, Shelby. OpenAI, they had their developer conference. There's a lot of expectations about what they were and were not going to release. And they've released essentially an agent builder software. And so this agent builder software, which goes along with an SDK type thing they released, which I believe is called Agent Kit. Yeah. So it's essentially like a visual where you can drag and drop nodes and then connect the nodes together to build agents, right? Agents that will take actions that really designed to be like integrated into like your website or other things like that. So for anybody who's ever seen like got their kids coding, like the Scratch programming language is where you like drag and drop the blocks, right? It's kind of similar to that, in my opinion, but more LLM AI focused.
Sorry, did you say this has a name? This program?
Yeah, they're calling it Agent Builder, right? Okay. Is the name. It's part of the Agent Kit, right? Which has basically 3 components, right? So it has like the Agent Builder, which is kind of the GUI where you kind of drag and drop these blocks and connect them together to automate, customer interactions with the chatbot. They also have like a registry, which allows you to like kind of connect different data and tools into the bots. And then they have like kind of like a called Chat Kit, which basically like is like, when you're building a website, you could import Bootstrap, and that means like you don't have to like add a bunch of code, like it takes care of a bunch of code. It's kind of like Bootstrap for like chatbots on your website. So you like import this JavaScript library, and then you just give it like the URL to your Agent Builder workflow, and then it just kind of is able to load up all the JavaScript and everything without you having to like copy and paste over a bunch of code. So for example, like you could build like a chatbot that helps people plan their trips, right? And so when the user initially types in, you could have kind of like a classifier node that says, is the user asking what they should do when they get there, or is the user asking like how they should get there, right? And then, it will kind of the LLM will make a decision on that. And then if it's like, oh, the user is actually asking how to get there, then you could like say like, oh, let's hook it up with tools to look at different flights. And then we'll give them like recommendations on the flights they could use to get there. Or like if the user's asking about what to do, then like, okay, let's go research using a web tool on like what's the perfect day. Like I know you recently went on a trip. Where'd you go again?
Japan,
yeah. So you could like have it research like what's a perfect day like in Tokyo or something like that, right? And then it would like give you back an itinerary. So you could kind of build these little workflows. So
that's sweet.
Yeah, it's cool. I think people are gonna really like it. With that being said, I hate these workflow things, man. And here's why. Because they always look good in the demos, man. They always look good in the demos, and then you get in there and you try to actually build something, and you realize it's not working. You can't figure out why, because you can't really get under the hood of the nodes or the interface, and then you just end up rewriting the entire project in Python or something like that. That's what happens to me every single time. So I think they're cool as like a prototyping tool, or to like build something really simple real fast, or maybe like, hey, I need to build a demo for the boss, like let's just build the MVP here. Like that's cool. But I just find like with a lot of these tools, there's a couple other in the space. There's like Lindy, N8N, Make.com, and Zapier both have similar interfaces now. Some advantages of using those ones is that they support multiple LLM providers, so you're not locked into OpenAI's LLMs. But the advantage of the OpenAI one is they've got distribution. I mean, ChatGPT's like one of the most popular platforms on the planet today for a reason. So, I mean, there's pros and cons to both approaches. I just find that like with either way, I always end up wanting to do something, like I always want to end up doing something more and more complex. And then I feel like the interface ends up eventually hampering me. But I know that's not the case for most users, and I think most users would enjoy this. So that's why I wanted to highlight it on the pod. So
yeah. So like that trade-off between like customizability versus like easy usability.
Yeah. I'm also like, I think people that know me know I'm a perfectionist at heart, right? So like if there's like, even if the platform does enough, it's never enough for me. You know what I mean? So.
You've got that curious drive for excellence.
But it's pretty cool. if you haven't checked it out, you should check it out. It's Agent Builder. I think you got to go to platform.openai.com right now to get to it. So it's not integrated into like the ChatGPT interface yet. But it's pretty easy to use, at least based on my like quick tinkering with it. So,
Nice.
so
That's really
well,
cool.
have you been doing anything fun this week? Anything fun you want to share with the audience?
Oh boy. Well, I think we're just soaking up the last of the warmth before it gets into full-fledged fall. So I don't know. Nothing too interesting, but hopefully we'll get a pumpkin patch trip in here soon.
Oh, yeah. Pumpkin patch is a tricky thing, right? Because if you buy the pumpkin too early, it wilts before Halloween, right? But then if you try to buy it too late, there's no good pumpkins left. So I feel like you gotta, right about now is probably the sweet spot, right?
What do you mean no good pumpkins left, Bryce? Because I feel like between like September and December, I see a million pumpkins everywhere.
Really? Maybe I'm
I just
just,
feel like I see a lot of pumpkins everywhere I go.
there's just like a pumpkin patch on the edge of daybreak, and so I just go there every single time. It's not the biggest pumpkin patch, right?
Fair.
So maybe that's probably the problem, right? Is everybody in this neighborhood probably does the exact same thing. So
Well, I wish you and your pumpkins all the best.
me
What about you?
too.
What have you been up to?
Well, my fun thing that I would recommend for people, I've been playing Hades 2, the video game, on the Nintendo Switch 2. And I don't know if you guys, it's pretty similar to the original Hades game that came out on the Nintendo Switch. But it's a fun game. It's one of these games where like you try to run through the game, and then when you die, you basically go back to the beginning, and you can like get some stat boosts, and then you start the whole game over again. These are called like rogue-like games, right? Because Rogue Legacy, I think, was the original game that came out with this concept back in 2013-ish time frame. I think is when Rogue Legacy came out. My brother sent me a link with it, and he was like, "You have to play this video game." And I was like, "Is it good?" He's like, "No, I hate it, but you have to play it." And so then I bought Rogue Legacy, and I just like was like, "Oh, I'll just play for 5 minutes." No, I just sat there all night playing that stupid game. Like, it's the fact that you die and then you reboot, but then you get like slightly statted up on certain things, like certain upgrades, and then you get to try again. And then there's like a randomization in the rooms and a bunch of other stuff like that. For whatever reason, those combinations just, you get like a really good dopamine rush, right?
I
By
was
playing
gonna
these
say
type of
because you can
games.
do more as your stats improve, and so like
Yeah,
you probably
yeah.
feel like you're improving a lot.
And I'm definitely one of those like personalities where it's like, don't tell me I can't do something, because then I'll like triple down on it, right? I'm like, you can't tell me I can't beat this game. I was like,
You like that challenge. That's good.
yeah. I don't know if it's healthy, but I definitely have that like spike reaction to stuff, right? Where I'm like, get really determined. So
No, I love that. Because if someone tells me, I mean, like on the other side, like you've got the personality that's like, if you tell them you can't do that, they'll be like, yeah, you're right. It's like, no, try, get up there, give it a
I'll
shot.
be like, I'll make you look dumb. I'll make you look dumb. It's a very healthy perspective, Shelby.
No, so I applaud people who've got that drive to just push forward, make it happen. That's great.
Oh man. Anything else you want to share with the audience, Shelby?
This is old news, but to me it was news because I was a little playing catch up. But just like a happy, feel good story of this girl in Canada. She was 17 years old at the time. I don't know if she's turned 18 by now, but the time she made her news, she's 17 years old. Her name is, I'm sorry, Anya. I'm gonna get your name wrong. Anya Pokarian. And she was volunteering at a hospital and saw kind of like the burden that some patients had in coming to use dialysis, right? Dialysis, you have to sit there for hours, get your blood cleaned, because your body isn't able to do it for yourself. And it's a repeat thing, and some people would have to travel long distances to get to the hospital. Well, so she, as a high school science fair project, took it upon herself to see if she could make a more portable machine. And she did it. And she spent so many hours on this. She just spent countless hours on it. But she brought the cost of a dialysis machine down from a typical $30,000 to $500.
What?
So
That's
exponentially,
awesome.
like, shrunk that cost. And it wasn't just okay, it actually is outperforming your standard dialysis machine in a
Whew.
hospital. So it can filter waste from blood from 4 liters of blood in 25 minutes, which is fantastic. So this could be revolutionary for some people who are already dealing with a lot, right? To just kind of ease that burden and change some lives. I found out there are some portable dialysis machines on the market already, but none is cheap. So this is pretty cool. And it was made by a 17-year-old girl. So I think that's super cool. They're hoping it can hit the market in a few years. So
Give her a
really
Nobel
exciting.
Prize, man. She earned it.
Right?
So that's awesome. I mean, I can't believe that, like, yeah, a 17-year girl basically out innovated the entire medical industry, right? So,
Yeah, she just wanted to ease that burden on people and just make life a little easier. So I thought that was incredible.
well, yeah, good for her. Good. I appreciate that. So, I cannot wait until, yeah, the medical industry as a whole is just yeah, where I think it should be, right? Which is much more advanced than where we're at today, right? So, but that's a rant for another day, Shelby. So yeah, well, thanks everyone for tuning into the pod. We'll catch you next time, and as my hero would say, it's all about the family, right? So thanks for being part of our family. So,
Yeah. Have a
all
good
right,
one.
well, see you next time. Bye.